The ones that I have a problem with are the ones that complain about not moving up.
Right.
But they don't want to.
But they've never done
They don't want to do
anything
anything
to move
to it.
themselves
Yeah.
up.
It's all about what are you doing for me, not what can I do for myself.
You bet.
Yeah.
Do you love getting up and going to work every day?
I do. There are some people that think I'm absolutely crazy.
No, there's some of us that know it. We know you. Tradesmen built America. Not policymakers or desk jockeys, but hardworking, blue-collared men and women. Join me, Roger Wakefield, on conversations with some of the nation's most successful skilled laborers. This is the Trade Talks. You had a big part in growing a company from nothing to become one of the largest HVAC companies in Dallas.
Yes.
How's that make you feel?
Wow.
Yeah, start deep.
Amazing. Yeah.
Start with the good stuff. We'll go from there.
I don't know that you can put a word on it, Roger. Amazing. I mean, it's there's a lot of pride in that, especially being able to do it with who I did it with. The history that I have with Josh and Michael. I think I've got maybe 16 years with Michael and 13 with Josh. So being able to take something they were super proud of, taking their baby and help it grow to where it is a very, very, very cool thing.
What have you seen along the way?
Oh, my word.
They have to do 10 or 12 shows.
I have seen excitement. I've seen anger. I've seen nervous. I've seen what do we do next? I've seen, oh my God, how did we even do that? You know, there's times where people are like, oh my God, what did y'all do to make that happen? And you really have to think about it because even though you contributed to it, you know that you did it, you really can't go back and trace your steps of how you got to certain places. It's all cylinders running all the time, everybody on the same page. And then all of a sudden, you know, we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary. So I've seen it. I've seen it at its highs. I've seen it at its lows. I've seen it amazing. I've seen it. What are we doing next? You know, so it has been a ride.
It has been. And the first, I'm going to say 9 years. It's what, 11 years old now?
No, 10 years old, January 1st.
10 the first.
Yes.
So the first 8 years were normal company growth from 0 to, I'm going to say 10 million. But when Rescuer bought out Texas Green Plumbing, they were doing 9, we were doing 1. So from 0 to 8 years, 0 to, let's say, $10 million. Makes it a very good size company in the Dallas area. From 8 years to 10 years, went from 10 million to
20
to 21, 7, somewhere over there.
Oh. Yes.
That doubles in size in 2 years.
Yes, sir.
That's a heck of a roller coaster ride. And not roller coaster because they no down.
No.
That's a hockey stick. It goes like this, it goes like this, it goes like this.
Yes. We haven't come down the other side of the hill yet.
Oh, no. There is no coming down the other side. There's maybe slow the roll, but not coming down. It was going up. It's like, look, we're not a $10 million a year company anymore. We still had the same infrastructure.
Yes, sir.
Which means, man, a whole lot more got thrown on a whole lot more people.
Because it does. It takes a lot more people to run a $20 million company that does a $10 million company. But when it's all of a sudden there, and that could be one of the things I think is just that's the unknown. Again, I don't want to say it was unknown in the fact that, oh my God, how did we do that? It definitely.
We just kept turning the volume knob up.
I mean, it definitely, going from 10 to 20 was not our goal. It wasn't our budget. It just all of a sudden.
I was at that budget meeting in Florida.
You were. Yes, sir.
And man, we're like 12, 14 looks
14,
amazing.
14. Yeah, it was 12, 14 stretch.
You bet.
We got this.
Yeah, we can do this.
And then.
It came quick.
Yeah. And then December 31st rolls around and I will never forget. It was actually December 26th. I'm sitting at my house and John is our install manager. My phone just started blowing up because he was literally counting the 20 million. I mean, he was like, Kimberly, we're there. It's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to happen the next day. And within like a 2-day span because Christmas Day, but he didn't really look at it on Christmas Day. So from the time we left the office, the 23rd, we weren't in the office on the 24th, the 25th, 26th. He is blowing me up. And then I'm getting screenshots and it's just, I mean, we hit that point and it was like, what the hell?
Isn't that crazy?
Yes, to have it. Yeah. Yeah. And when I look back on that and I think about that year, Roger, there's so much that I can't, some of it's a blur. You get to the office in the morning at 7:00 and I mean, on my drive home, it's dark again in the summer, right? And I get to the house and I'm like, okay, I know I probably went through about 6 red lights. Were they green? Are they red?
Or did I even stop? Or should I have stopped?
Go home and realize you didn't touch your radio the whole way home. I mean, your brain is just, oh my God. But what a fun year. I mean, I can't look back on that year and think of anything that was like a holy shit moment as far as something went really, really wrong.
And during that year, we lost key people.
Yes.
I mean, they're there one Friday and over the weekend, they're like, hey, I'm going somewhere else.
Yes.
It's like, wait, what?
Yes.
Tell everybody who you are and what you do.
So my name is Kimberly.
Kimberly.
I have been with Josh and Michael since July 15th of 2015. So I was the 5th employee of the company. And when I started, I literally walked through the door, and we have a little funny story about that. But I walked in the door with Josh. There was a gentleman there that I was supposed to be taking his place. Things didn't work out like they were supposed to. So he didn't get let go when he was supposed to. So I walk in and he's still there, and he's like, oh my God, because I knew him from previous.
You bet.
Josh is like, I'm going to take him to breakfast. You got this? Literally just walked through the door. I know nothing about nothing.
There's your onboarding.
I'm like, cool. I got it. I'm sitting in the chair and I'm like, okay, if that phone rings, what's our service area?
What's the name of the company again? Where am I at today?
I mean, I know it's July, so I know somebody's going to call with a no cool, but do we go on? Are we doing maintenance? I had no idea about nothing. I'm sitting at a computer and I'm looking at our software, and I see up in the corner where it says Academy. So I click it and I
learned something today.
That's how I book a call.
There you go.
And that was literally my first day. That was my first day at Rescue Air. So from there it was really just Josh would come in. I'm very much a person of I don't like to say I don't know.
And a lot of us are that way.
And if I do, it's very quickly followed with, because that means I can't give you the answer that second.
Yeah.
But if I do have to say I don't know, I say, give me 10 minutes and I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Google was my best friend. There were things he would come and ask, and I'd be like, got it. And then I'd be like,
yeah,
Google, right?
How do I figure it out?
So I literally at one point was the install manager. I mean, I was talking to the subs. I was dispatching the guys. I was answering the phone. I was ordering equipment. I mean, it was just, I ran the whole gamut. It was just me in the office with Josh and Michael. And when I first got there, Michael was actually still running some calls. We slowly grew that to where one day I'm like, okay, I need help. So at that point is when we started hiring call center people. So over the next 3-4 years, that was really my goal. Josh and Michael kind of took over the equipment side and doing all of that. And then, of course, we hired a few people along the way that helped with that. But my main goal was building the call center, getting the call center solid. So I did that.
So why is the call center? I remember being at a conference one day and I heard Jimmy Dale speak. And he's talking about call center, because a lot of people, when they bring in call center people, that is the lowest paid person they have. We're going to start you out at minimum wage because we can't start you out any cheaper.
Yep.
And we're going to put you in to be the face and voice of our company.
Yep.
How good of an idea is that?
Horrible one.
It sucks, doesn't it? And Jimmy Dale said this, and I loved it. Because Jimmy Dale's like, look, my call center people are some of the top paid people I have.
Yes.
The top hourly people.
Yes.
Because this is the face, the voice,
Yes.
the first contact person anybody has with your company. And you're going to make this your lowest paid person and expect them close rate of 90, 92%, and love your job knowing you're the lowest paid person.
Yep.
That don't work very well, does
No, and you're usually, when it comes to the computers and stuff, you usually have the hand-me-downs.
The last computer, as a matter of fact, this is the first computer we bought. Congratulations.
Yes.
It finally made it to you 12 years later.
Yes.
It still works on dial-up.
Yes. And then, usually their spot in the office is less than stellar. I mean, sometimes
12 of them in a room.
Yeah, 12 of them in a room. You might as well stuck them in the
stacked on each other. Yeah. The office.
So that was the one thing I think Josh and Michael got right from the very start, was to get good people in here to answer these phones, get these calls booked, and keep our guys busy. They have to want to come to work every day. I mean, they have to want to come to work every day. Not only do they have to want to come to work, they have to enjoy it.
You bet.
Because if they don't, if they're, pissy, bad mood, why am I here? It's coming across on that phone, and who's going to want to do business with, Debbie Downer? They just don't.
One of my first mentors was Robert Melko, a union service company out of Chicago. And he said one of the smartest things he ever did, he installed mirrors at his call center.
Yep.
And I think he said he put the word smile on the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And said, when you answer that phone, you look at that mirror and look at yourself and think, if you were talking to this person, are they happy to speak with you? Are they happy to talk to you?
Yep.
And are they doing the best job for you? And he said that completely changed the way they sat on the phone. Because he would tell them, look, if I walk in and you're not looking at that mirror, we got problems.
Yep.
So you literally had to turn and face the mirror, smile. Hi, this is Kimberly.
Yeah. It is.
Welcome to my world.
It is so critical when people think it's a cliche, or they think it's a whatever, when you're like, people can hear you smile. I do not care who you are. If I turned my back right now, you could tell if I was smiling or not smiling. You can just tell. And that was a really big thing. We have one of our girls, Marilyn, that worked in the call center with me. She came in with
Hook 'em.
Is it your?
She's my girl. I like her. First time I met her, she had on a Longhorn shirt. I'm like, me and you are going to be friends.
Love her.
Yep.
She had zero experience in anything HVAC, anything call center. She took care of her kids, right? So even, bless her heart, even human interaction was, she had her kids.
You bet. You bet.
So where she
was happy to be there just to get to speak to adults.
Yes. That is a true story.
Oh my God, this is somebody over 21. How are you today?
But she, even though she's a super happy person, and she truly is fun to talk to,
right?
But her normal demeanor is kind of, she could be super excited and you don't know she's super excited, right? Well, where she would sit, her back was to me. We sat in the same room. I always sat in the same room with my girls. I think that's super important too. But her back was to me. And I will never forget the first time she was actually on the phone talking to a customer, and I'm in the background, and all I said, very loud, I didn't scream it, but loud enough she could decipher me over who she was talking to.
You bet.
I said, smile. And she sat there for a minute, and she didn't do anything. So I said, smile. She still didn't do anything. So finally I said, Marilyn. She turned around and she looked at me, and I said, smile. And then she's like, oh. She will still tell that story today to anybody. And she's like, oh, wait till you're on the phone talking to a customer and Kimberly's already smiling at you. So now it is a huge deal. Like, sometimes I can tell if she's having a bad day, or whatever. She figures it out, and I will hear her smile, and then she'll turn around and give me the cheesiest, big smile while she's talking to the customer on the phone.
You bet.
But yeah, back to your original. I kind of got off track there.
No, it's what it takes.
You have to pay them. You have to show them their worth. They also have to care. One of my motto in the call center was always, it still is today, the guys in the field will never not have a paycheck because they didn't have a call to run. And if we've got guys sitting at home, you shouldn't be able to sleep at night.
Yeah.
Because, I know in Texas, there's going to be times where the phones are slow. I mean, if you're cold, put on a blanket. If you're hot, open your window. You know what I mean? So what are you doing to make sure these guys have calls? Are you thinking outside the box? Or lists you can pull previous, whatever that looks like. But somebody that's just making minimum wage and somebody that you're not taking care of and showing them their worth, they're not going to do that for you. They're going to come in, they're going to put their butt in the seat, they're going to answer the phone when it rings, and then that's all you get out of them.
Amber was one of my first call centers. And I've had 2 or 3, I said one of my first, she was the last, really.
Right.
But I only had like 3 along the way. And when she got in, it was almost like Julie answering the phone. You could hear the smile. You could hear, oh my God, I know how you feel. The empathy is like, look, we've all been there.
Yeah.
I've had plumbing problems. Luckily, I was able to fix them myself. But I mean, still to wake up and know, like, wait, I've got water flooding through my ceiling because an air conditioner condensate drain that drains into the lavatory isn't draining because the lavatory is clogged. Now it's overflowing and now. And then when people call and they're like, look, I've got a drain that's not draining and it's overflowing. It's like, look, I know how you feel. I've been there. I hired Amber because she called to have a job done for her mother. Then she called to have a job done for her. And she always called me directly. And I'm like, you know what? So I call her, I was like, hey, do you want a job? She's like, no. I said, good. Can you come apply? Because I need you. And that's really about the way the conversation went.
Wow.
You can move up from a call center.
Oh, yeah.
She's not in there anymore. You're not in there anymore. You hadn't been there a long freaking time. What have you moved up and done? Where'd you move into from the call center? This video is sponsored by Leak Pro. Go check out leak-pro.com.
So from the call center, I went into the sales manager role. I did that for a year. And then from there, I stepped into the GM role, which the funny thing is that I never really took my hand out of the pot of the call center role.
Mm-hmm.
That is my call center and dispatch. Like if you could, I tell this story and people think I'm absolutely crazy, but if you could put me in a room in the middle of summer, shut a door and just leave me alone to dispatch, that would be it's a puzzle to me.
You bet.
It's a puzzle.
Logistics is the world.
Yes. And it's not even logistics necessarily. It's about what have we done
person,
there
right
before?
job. Yes.
Who are we sending? Whatever. Oh, they're fixing to head here. Nope. That call just came in. So now we're going to move this one over here and we're going to put this one over here and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, so.
Dispatching for profits.
Yes. Yes. Very, very important. And there's
huge.
A lot of people that don't do it.
They don't.
They're so worried about drive time.
Yes. They're like, look, I got a guy in the Northeast. We're going to keep all him in the Northeast. Well, he doesn't specialize in slab leaks and leak detection, but he's there. So we're going to send him and he doesn't sell a job. And Discovery Specials and it's on a job changing out a washer on a lavatory faucet that he hates.
I will have 2 guys at a neighbor's house if that's the call they're supposed to be on. You may be on the same street. You may be waving at your fellow employees drive by.
One may be leaving while the other one's pulling up. They're thinking, why didn't I just walk next door? Because that's not your job.
That's not your job. That's right.
You bet. And man, that's a hard thing to get technicians to understand. Because at the end of the day, look, most of us think we can do it all. And that's why whenever I interview people, I ask them, look, what 3 things are you great at?
Right.
What do you love doing? Well, I love water heaters. I love toilet rebuilds. And I love slab leaks and leak detection. I can find a leak a mile away from the job before I ever pull up. You're my guy.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
You don't send him out because of a jam disposal.
Right.
Number 1, he hates it. Number 2, you don't send him out to water heaters. Look. But then after asking him, what 3 things do you love and are you great at? What do you not like? Dude, I hate water heaters. I hate troubleshooting them. I hate replacing them. I just don't like water heaters. Okay. Note taken.
Right. Yep.
And when you send him on a water heater call, it's going to take him twice as long. He's not where he wants to be. He's not in his happy place.
Right.
Now you try to send him somewhere else to go sell a job and put him in a happy place. Well, no, he's still upset.
Yep.
I just got through doing a water heater for 2 hours. Should have taken me an hour, but you know what? I didn't have the right tools and I don't like what I did. I skipped a step.
Yeah.
And it cost me. And now I'm really pissed. And okay, hey, you got a leak. And attitudes are, and not saying plumbers have attitudes or egos.
Yeah.
or HVAC technicians either. Maybe a little bit.
I saw some bourbon over there when I walked
Should we go ahead and open the safe now? It's going to be a long conversation.
Yeah, so those are the things. And the one thing that I've always told Josh and Michael too, something that I live by is a title is just a title. I am going to go in the company wherever they need me at the moment. You could put me as the GM, and then you could take me to the
dispatch,
sweeping, mopping, whatever that looks like. If I'm good at something and I can be utilized in that area, put me where you need me. I'm not big on titles, and that's why whenever people like kind of like you just asked, like, where would you go? I don't even like to address it as titles, because I went where I was needed at the moment.
And I don't even think of it as titles. I think of you in positions.
Yeah.
I see you in things you do. Yeah. Call you a pain in the butt. You're still doing your job.
There's probably a few people that say that.
I think I've seen it on your business card. But I mean,
pain in the butt that gets the job done.
But exactly. But and I love that, because you're like, at the end of the day, it's about just getting the job done.
Yes.
And it takes a lot of cooks in the kitchen to get the job done.
Yes.
Especially going from 10 million to 20 million.
Yes.
What growing pains were there? What growing pains did you feel?
Building the call center was where my main focus was at, has been pretty much the whole time. And I think for me, it was self-inflicted in the aspect of, man, we're awesome. We got this. Come April, February, March. What's our goal? Kimberly, how many more people do you need for the call center to get us through the summer? I don't need nobody. We got this.
You bet.
You know?
We're bulletproof and invisible.
Oh, my God. And then come June, July, you're like, what? What I need?
Can I get 10 more people and train them today?
And the thing is I always got what I asked for, but now
you're already behind the eight ball.
You're trying to bring somebody into an environment, want them to love their job while they're watching everybody else pull their hair out. I didn't have enough time in my day to train these people properly and set them up for success. And the sad thing is some of those people didn't make it. And I hold the mirror up on that one all the way. Because if I would have just forecasted a little bit better, and I can't even say it wasn't that I didn't forecast. In my brain, I'm like, okay, well, if we don't have to add anybody else over here, that means that we can probably add somebody over there. So I'll just take the extra on this side if I have to. And so I feel like we do have some really good people that have come and gone. And they were gone because I didn't plan correctly to be able to train them and set them up for success. So I would say for me, in that role, that was always a huge thing for me. And it was year after year. You think I would have learned the first year, the second year, the third year, you know what I mean?
Reflection's amazing.
Oh my God. Yes. Yeah. Again, somebody grabbed the
So tell the story. I want to ask you a question, and this story just popped into my mind. Did Rescuer grow and bring in the right people, or did Rescuer bring in the right people, therefore we grew?
I'm going to say it's a little both. I'm going to say in the beginning we just had the people we had, and we were growing organically, right? I would say the year that we went from 10 to 20, that was bringing in the right people. And I say that because I think of if we would, I mean, we brought them in. I would say the people that we brought in, we didn't bring in because we
projected doubling.
More. We brought in because we were, I guess you could say we were upgrading what we had. So it wasn't that we said, oh shit, we're getting super busy and we need all of these, and we need an extra hand over here, an extra hand over here. We didn't bring in extra. We replaced what we had, if that makes sense. So we still had the same amount of people. I mean, don't get me wrong. We brought in a few extra people here and there, but we had a shift of seats. We replaced some people, enhanced the departments is what I like to say.
Improved.
We improved.
Upgraded.
There you go. I think that has a lot to do with that $10 to $20 million year. I think of some key players. I think of John Wren. He's our install manager, right? He came in probably April-ish, maybe June-ish.
Beginning of the year.
And that was the same exact year that I'd stepped into the sales manager role. And you remember our old the building before the one we have now, and we got to the point we were just, I mean, you might as well
filling up the conference table, right?
People, right? One of the things that Josh said, he was like, we really, sales and install need to be, let's put you guys in the same room, And so my office and John's office were all in the same big area. Our desks were straight across from each other. And I will never forget, he walked in and he asked me, he likes to call himself a California implant, right? So I'm already thinking, oh, great, I got to sit back here with this guy.
Got to deal with this.
Right?
Isn't he the greatest, though?
Oh, my God.
I love him. He is good.
John is so good for the soul. I love John. But I'll never forget, he walked up to me and he said, okay, Kimberly, what do you need from me? And I said, John, I'm out to reinvent the wheel. And he's like, okay. And I said, install department, installers and sales guys are going to become best friends. And he was like, oh, whew,
that's never been tried before.
I said, I'm serious. I said, can you imagine a world where installers and sales guys like each other? They're on the same page, because in most companies, this was the devil. If they would have sold it this way, well, this one didn't install it right and whatever. I said, can you imagine a world where the installers and the sales guys are like meshed on the same page, conversating, talking, lining things out, whatever. And he's like, yeah. So I would say probably, and I'd already talked to my guys about it. I was like, look, guys, this is what I want to accomplish. And I think, and they all got along. It's not like nobody didn't like each other.
Right.
But you're polar opposite sides of the spectrum. When something goes wrong at an install,
so sales guy,
either the installer sold it. I mean, the installer didn't install it correctly, or the sales guy sold it wrong. Right. I want to close that gap. So probably about a month and a half later, I went to John and I said, hey, the sales guys want to have a barbecue for the installers. He was like, huh? I said, yeah. So Joe, which I know you've had on your podcast before, Joe offered his house up, and it was almost people around the office were like, I'm not invited. I'm like, no, it was strictly our sales team and our installers.
We're team building.
And their families. Yep. And so we had a taco truck come out, and they sat there and made our street tacos, music going, of course some alcohol was flowing, and it was amazing. It was amazing. It was so good that we get through the summer and the installers were like, when can we do that again? So,
right now.
You're right.
Y'all just got us through the hardest time of year.
Yes. And don't get me wrong. I mean, of course, you still have your little, but it's so different, because there can be a what were you thinking moment, but it's a conversation.
Right.
It's not like there's no questions and everything's perfect.
We're still on the same team.
We're on the same team. So I think when you look at that for that year that we grew from 10 to 20, you look at John sitting there. When I sat in that seat as the sales manager that year, I don't contribute the success of that team solely on me. I contribute it to the fact that somebody was sitting in the seat and that was their only focus.
Right.
Was the sales team, because we had had sales managers in the past, but they were all working in the field. They were running calls as well. So there's nobody to do the everyday. My sole purpose is you. I'm not taking care of customers. I'm not running calls. I'm here sitting at this desk for you. I think that contributed a lot to that, was that there was a sales manager, and that was their only job, was a sales team, was making sure they were going to the right calls, making sure those calls were being set up properly. I was working hand in hand with the call center at that point in time, and they knew, dispatch knew, which really, I can't say it was dispatch, anything to do with dispatch, because I truly never took my hand off of that with my sales guys, with the sales team. I made sure that I was the one that was digging through those calls and making sure they got where they were going. And I think having the focus and never letting it go. I mean, I would have, anytime a call was booked that was a replacement op, my phone would ding every time it was booked. So Saturday, Sunday evening, it didn't matter. My phone was going off. I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, what is that? If I had a question, I'd call the office. I mean, they knew. They all knew. And they were like, especially on the weekends, because when I'm there, I'm looking at the board and I can like dig and look myself.
You bet.
But they all
shift things around.
They all knew on the weekends, Kimberly's going to be gone 20 times. So I think the focus that year was completely different. Having the right people sitting in the right seats, bringing on passionate people that knew what they were doing, that had done it before. I think, and that's what I think of when I think of John. We shifted some things in the warehouse. You know, we even had somebody in the warehouse that he wasn't new to us, but he was new to that. But he walked in there with passion. So all of a sudden, your stuff's getting ordered correctly, and when the installers come in, all their stuff is ready for them. So they're in the door, out the door. Our call center was really strong at the moment. Everybody that was there, I think we may have had 1 or 2 new people, but we started the summer with the people that had been there and they were already trained. So there was no more Kimberly moments of, I don't need that. And then bringing them in and trying to train them in July, you know.
You know, it's really funny. Same conference. Somebody on stage speaking about the managers are only allowed to manage 5 or 6 people. Mm-hmm. And they're a big KPI company. Look at our KPIs. And when numbers started going down, they go back and look at it. It's like, wait, this manager's managing 8 people now.
Yeah.
This manager's managing 7 people now. And they come back to him and say, you know, what's this? Like, look, I got this. Yeah, but the numbers show you don't. And I've always thought, man, that is so smart to be able to look at the data.
Yeah.
You know, with everything I'm doing with Google, with YouTube, with everything, it's all data.
Yeah.
Data tells us what to do.
Yep.
And it's so neat to be able to get in and look at that and see it and say, hey, here's where the shift occurs. Here's where it's been going up. It's been going up. Oh, now it starts coming down.
Yep.
What happened right here? And looking at that is amazing.
Yeah.
I had Randy Carpenter in, and Randy says we probably spend about $10,000 a year on each person in the field training them in the plumbing department. Call center people need training too, don't they?
Yes.
Even if it's just a
yes.
motivational, hey, let's get out of town for a week and learn something.
Yeah.
And then go down the bar every evening and have a drink and network with other call center people from around the country. Does every person in the company get training?
Oh, yes.
It's big, isn't it?
Yes, it's super. That is the one thing that is a big deal. Josh and Michael, I don't know what our training budget is at the moment, but they do not skimp on training. And it is one of those, if somebody was to walk up to them and say, hey, I would really like to know more about this. Okay, cool. We're looking at classes.
Right.
You know, everybody goes through training. Usually our weekly meetings are department meetings. It's not just a bunch of talk. There's usually training involved. Well, I know our service techs, they do 3 days of training. The plumbing has 1, CSRs have 1. One of the things that is big around the office, and we tell people in interviews, you can never walk out of Rescue Air and say, I didn't get enough training.
Right.
It's impossible, because even if it's not a planned one, again, if you walk up and say, I would like to learn more about that. Hey, I'm in the call center. I would love to learn about QuickBooks and see what the accounting side's doing. Okay, cool. Let's look up a class for that, right? Marilyn did that. Marilyn was like, I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to go here and I want to go there, and just wanted to grow through the steps of the company. So she took a QuickBooks class. Yeah, training, you have to train from the bottom. You have to train everybody. You cannot expect anybody to come in. You never know everything. And it's so funny because Josh always says, you know, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
You bet.
Anybody that says, I know how to do that. Well, you may be really good at it, but I can guarantee you 3 years just passed. There's probably a lot of stuff you don't know now. Technology's crazy. I mean, things change every day. And if you don't stay in your company, if you don't stay on top of training your employees and you don't make that a focus, you're doing it wrong.
And not just training your employees, train you.
Oh, yeah. Personal development.
You know, look, I speak at social media conferences.
Yeah.
Even the ones I speak at, when I'm not speaking, I'm on the front row with my notebook, taking notes. And people call, Roger, you could have taught that class. Why were you in there taking notes? It's like, dude, I learn every day. I learn something that if I can take one thing away to help me improve what I'm doing, I just keep getting better.
Yeah.
Most plumbers, most HVAC techs, once they get their license, they stop learning. I talk about this a lot because, you know, we get into the trade to become a plumber. But once we become a plumber, it's like, leave me alone. Let me go plumb.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of companies that do not train at all.
Yeah.
When I had Texas Green Plumbing, we did training, not like Rescue Air. And to walk in and see how much training is there, and you watch people learn and grow. One of the questions in one of the meetings 2 years ago is look, and you talk about upgrading people, was, you got to go home and look in the mirror. Are you a $20 million a year person?
Yes.
Are you capable of running a $20 million a year company? Yeah. And I remember, and I wouldn't have even known how to, I would have just automatically said yes. I remember walking into one of my vice president's offices one day, and we were talking. And he said, out of all the superintendents we've got here, you're one of a handful that can run $25 million jobs. And I thought, okay, that's cool. Never thought anything about it. It's just like, okay, that's neat. But it's a lot different running a $25 million job than a $1 million job. It's a lot different running a $1 million company than a $20 million company. And you've got to learn to tie all the pieces together.
Yes.
Get Jim Collins, get all the right people in the right bus, in the right seat, go in the right direction at the same time. And it's not always easy to do.
It is not.
What do you need to take it from a $20 million a year company to a $40 million a year company?
People that want to learn, people that want to grow. And the sad thing is, it's not a sad thing. It's truth. It's fact. You may be an amazing employee at a $20 million a year company. You may not be such an amazing employee at a $30 million a year company, and that's okay. It may be time for you to shift gears if we're going to 30, but I think
there may be a $15 million a year company out there that you'd be a rock star at and can help them get there.
Yes. And I think it has to start with the person. They have to want to grow.
Can anybody change and grow like that?
Probably not the popular opinion, but no, I don't think so. I think anybody can grow if they're willing to take the time. But I think that is a complete mindset. I think that is something that you can instill. You can push people to be a certain way, right? You can say, okay, so guys, I'm going to tell you, we're at 20 million. You're all great, but we're going to 30. Are you? You're going to have those people that the company's going to outgrow them, period, in a discussion. And I think you can only do so much as a leader to get them there. If you're handing them the tools, if you can look in the mirror and you can say, I gave them every tool they needed. I gave them every training they needed over and above me. Somebody smarter than me.
You bet.
Taught them.
Brought in the right people or sent them to the right places.
If they don't have the mindset to take all of that and do something with it, you can't control that. You just can't. To me, that's a skill or will. I'm very big on, you've got to determine, is it skill or will? And if you know they've got the skill, if you know you've handed them everything, they look you straight in the face and they say, oh yeah, I understand that. You can tell they understand it, but they don't have the will to do something with it. I don't think you can change that. I think skill or will is an internal you thing. I think you can try to motivate all you want to, but if they're not gonna use, and that's why I said you can never walk away from Rescue Air and say, oh, I didn't succeed. I didn't get to that 30 million with them because they just didn't train me. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, the training's there.
Ever walk away and say that. I think it's, what are you doing with what you have?
I like that. What could other companies do to grow like that? Train their people. It's a culture. I mean, there's a lot of things.
You hit the nail on the head. I think it's culture. Yes, you have to train them. But then you also have to create an environment that people want to stay in. You also have to create the environment that people want to grow with you. Because at the end of the day, we're all growing, we're all doing. I'm getting, I have pride in my accomplishments, but at the end of the day, we're working for Rescue Air, right? Josh and Michael are the two leaders saying, this is what we want to do. This is where we want to grow. I can have personal growth all day long and say, okay, well, this is Kimberly's goal and this is Kimberly wants to do. But at the end of the day, my paycheck is reflected on, they are paying me to help them grow.
Right.
right, wrong, or indifferent. Other people may have other opinions of that, but bottom line is that is my employer. They're paying me to do a job. If they are not creating the culture needed for me to be there and thrive there, if they are not creating the culture where I want to come to work every day and I want to do that, it's not going to happen. Somebody has to want to come to work. And that's why I think you can hand training all day long, but if somebody doesn't enjoy walking through the door, hey, I'm a super smart cookie. I went to that training. I can teach you now. But God, I don't want to get out of bed and freaking drive there today.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. I think culture is everything. You have to create an environment that people want to come to every day. Doesn't matter how smart they are, how dumb they are, how much they know, how much they don't know. I totally believe everybody can learn something, but you gotta want to come to work to be able to even use any of it, or it's useless.
So somebody coming in as a plumbing apprentice, HVAC apprentice, install apprentice, whatever it is, what's the career path look like for them? Do they have an opportunity to learn, grow, move up, get better?
Absolutely. So we actually have stepping stones. A lot of times we will hire people into the warehouse that have said, hey, I want to be an installer one day, or hey, I want to be a service tech one day. And it's usually a question that's asked when they're hired, right? We have several installers and install helpers that have actually moved up from the warehouse. And our warehouse manager, Donovan, knows when I get people in here, probably ain't gonna have them very long if they're really good, because they are moving on to the next. Those conversations are had. I would say it's probably been within the last 6 or 7 months, especially when I was sitting in the sales manager position. I would have guys come to me all the time. Can I talk to you for a minute, Kimberly? And I'd be like, sure. And they're like, what do I have to do to get over here with you? Right? I would have a conversation with them, but then I realized there's really, truly not a path, right? I can tell you, hey, do this, do that, do this, do that. Great attitude. Come back and see me 2 years from now, whatever. So we actually documented it and put it down. We put it down on paper. So if you're in the service department, there's a lot of guys in the service department that could care less about going to the sales department, right? So that's not always the path.
And they love where they're at. They may be there forever.
Where they're at.
You bet.
So the next step would be being a field supervisor or whatever. So we actually have a document that is field supervisor. Somebody walks up and says, hey, what do I got to do to get to the next level? You hand them that sheet of paper. Mm-hmm. And that's what it is. We did the same thing to get from service to the sales department. This is what we need to see from you. And it's an actual document. So anybody at any point in time wants to know, where can I go from here? We've got that. You have to. And you have to talk about it. You have to talk about it also. I think that's a big thing. I think if you don't talk about it, they don't know there's a path. Well, now somebody feels, I've been here for a while. I'm going to be a service tech forever. They move on and go someplace else when you maybe say, whoa. No, you don't. You can move here. You can do this. You can do that. I mean, you can move out of the field. You can be the service manager, whatever that looks like. And also constantly talking about your org chart, right? One of the things that we talk about, because I did have one guy ask, he's like, well, if you're the GM and Josh Michael over here and Andreas is over here. And he's like, where do you go from here? He goes, unless, you get fired, where are you going? Right. And I'm like, guys, you have to remember, you may stay the service manager, but you're now going to be the service manager that maybe has 3 people under them that now have 60 people under them. And then all of a sudden, we grew again. So now you're still the service manager, but now you're here and you got 4 people under you and 10 people. I said, so the growth, you have to talk about that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Because people can think, I'm the service manager. I mean, I'm a service tech. There's really nowhere for me to go.
Right.
Well, as you grow,
there's always room to grow.
There's always room to grow. All of those, everything that we have set in place right now, there's going to have to be another one of them and another one of them and another one of them. Because one service manager can't handle, 1,000 employees. Mm-hmm. So I think it is very, very, very important to always have those conversations. Have a plan on a piece of paper, be able to just slide. You don't have to say a word. You say, oh, you're interested in that? Here you go, buddy. Keep it, read it, look at it, get there. And then let's talk. But you have to have something in place, and they have to know it's in place, and you have to talk about it.
Does everybody coming in want to grow? Does everybody coming in want to, a lot of people just, I want to be a plumber.
Yep.
I don't want the headache. I don't want the stress.
Nope.
I don't want. I'm a tool.
Yep.
When I come in at 8:00, turn me on.
Yep.
At 4:30, the end of the day, unplug me, put me in the box, and let me go, and I'll be right back at 8:00. Yep. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
They can make an amazing living doing just that.
Yes.
And live happy and pay their bills and go to parties and take out their wives on the weekend or their husbands or boyfriends and it's not just a male industry anymore, is it?
No.
I mean, you're a female.
A little bit.
Yeah. Not a lot of it. You're all girl. And look, there's a lot of female general managers, ops managers. I tell people that women that get in the trades normally end up doing really well. They work smarter. Guys are like, I'll brute force it. And that doesn't always work. But even girls getting into the trades, they normally move up and become managers or, whatever. I mean, the head plumber in Texas is a female. And I tell people that all the time. It's guys, look, you can move up and do whatever you want to do. But anybody going to work at a service company, there's always an opportunity to move up.
Yes.
Well, even if your company doesn't have training, get out and train yourself.
Yes.
There's online training. There's books. I heard, was it Brian Tracy talking? Says, look, you can consume enough knowledge in a year in a 30-minute drive to work and a 30-minute drive homework where you could pretty much get a PhD at the end of the year. People that don't learn and grow don't want to learn and grow.
We have that conversation all the time. All the time. You have to want to, and it's okay. I don't down anybody that isn't on that path, right? Like you said, you may have somebody,
you don't have to. You don't.
You may have somebody that comes in and they just want to do a really good, hard day's work for you. They want to earn their paycheck, but then they want to go home and they don't want to think about you again till the next day.
Right. I don't have to worry about it.
No, and that's okay. You need those people too. You need the people that are happy doing what they do. They're happy doing it for you. Their family loves them. Their family loves what they're doing. They're just happy. They come in, they work their ass off for you, and they go home. And that's okay. But people that complain about, well, I'm going to be sitting in this seat forever, or I'm going to be in this van forever, or those are the people that I'm like, what are you doing to grow? You just called me and asked me how to do X, Y, and Z. What did you do to figure that out for yourself before you had to call me? Well, I didn't. Okay, so I guarantee you right now, I know just enough about HVAC to be super dangerous. Even though I've been in the field, in there for a very long time, my forte is not to learn all about air conditioners. It's to motivate the people that are doing that. Mm-hmm. But I guarantee I could get online right now and probably change my capacitor at home if I needed to. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's how much time and energy are you putting into yourself to grow? And if you're not putting anything into yourself, don't expect me to invest in that. I think that's the key. People have to want to grow. They have to want to grow, or they're not. And again, they don't want to, and their life is amazing and happy where they're at.
You bet. It's good.
But they tell you that also. So you really don't have more expectation for them than they have for themselves. You're on the same page. You know it. That's your amazing employee. Proud to have them. The ones that I have a problem with are the ones that complain about not moving up.
Right.
But they don't want to.
But they've never done anything to move
to
themselves up.
It's all about what are you doing for me, not what can I do for myself.
You bet.
Yeah.
Do you love getting up and going to work every day?
I do. There are some people that think I'm absolutely crazy.
No, there's some of us that know it. We know you.
Because I live in Azle, other side of Fort Worth, and I drive to Dallas every day.
Through or around Fort Worth to get all the way over here.
Yeah.
And you probably pass 100 HVAC companies.
For sure I do.
To get here.
For sure I do. I would say if I had to average it out, I probably spend 4 hours a day in my car. I drive 126 miles a day round trip.
So let me go back. At the end of the year, you could become a PhD just by listening to the right things, Kimberly. Just gonna look. There's. I have hope for you. You can grow. Okay. Yeah, I do. I have hope for you.
One of the guys at work, we were talking about that one day, and he was like, "You know what? Hang on just a second." He gets his phone out and he starts Googling and calculating and stuff, and he goes, "Do you realize that in the amount of time you've been here, you're almost to the moon?"
There you go. Yeah, isn't that great? You said, yeah, sometimes I feel like it.
Yes. To me, that's a huge testament. In your question is, do I want to get up and go? I choose to get up and drive 60 miles one way every day
I remember
to go do what I do.
You brought your daughters.
Yes.
To a party one time.
To the Crawfish Bowl. Yes, sir.
And when you came into work Monday, you're like, my daughter's like, now I understand why you do it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
They did. That was 2 years ago. That was 2 years ago. And they did everybody, again, they just think I'm not, they're like, you do what? When people find out where I live,
right?
If they're like, you do what? And I'm like, oh yeah. And you can't, it's just the words coming out of my mouth. People are like, yeah, you can love where you work, but I'm not doing that. You know, I have people at work today telling me that I'm nuts. You know what I mean? And they work there.
You bet.
And I totally forgot about that, Roger. I totally forgot. Yeah. My daughters were like, I get it. I get it. Because at that point in time, they truly got to see
the family.
They got to see the family. They got to see outside of work. They got to see the fun and the love and the family atmosphere. They got to see it firsthand, and they understood.
May have been alcohol involved.
Could have been, but maybe
makes everything look good.
Maybe a little bit.
It makes everything look good.
Maybe a little bit.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so this has been fun. What did you do before?
Wow. Okay, so when my daughter was born, she's 28, just turned 28. My mother-in-law owned a florist and had owned a florist for probably 10 or 15 years. She absolutely loved me. Thank God. That doesn't happen a lot with mother-in-laws. And she said, I think I'm going to do something that I'm going to change careers. I want to open a new business. I want to do something where you can bring Skylar to work with you every day. And I was like, what?
Okay, so one daughter.
I have one daughter and two stepsons, but I hate the step word. So
who came to you with the party that day?
My daughter
and a friend or something.
A friend of hers, but then also my son and his wife were there. Okay. So both my daughters.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and
I thought either I had a lot of alcohol and was seeing several, but okay, cool. Just not that I did. I'm just saying.
I don't know. I think you brought 3 really good runs.
A lot of coconut rum and key lime rum and
yes, sir, there was
rum and. I drink bourbon most of the day, yeah. Yes.
Anyway, so she actually opened a children's resale shop. And so I did that with her for, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years when Skylar started school. And at that moment in time, I didn't necessarily have to work, but I found out very quickly I was not the stay-at-home mom. If my child's at school all day, I got to be doing something all day, right? So I went and got just a part-time holiday job at Bath and Body Works, and 13 years later, I was a store manager at 2 different stores. I had at the very end started going to new stores and helping them open. And one day I was speaking with my husband, and I think it was Thanksgiving. And I had to go to work. And I was like, I missed, because that was one of those one of those jobs. The manager's there every Saturday. Mother's Day, especially at Bath and Body Works. Mother's Day, you're working.
You bet.
Thanksgiving, you're working. Christmas Eve, you're working. And I had a very, very, very special wedding that I had to miss. So that happened, and then directly after that, it was Thanksgiving, and we actually had the opportunity to go out of town and see family that we have not seen in forever, and I wasn't able to go. And I was like, I'm missing it all, missing it all. So I went home and talked to my husband, and he was like, take a break for a little while, figure out what you can do, change careers, whatever. So I did that, and that probably lasted about 6 or 7 months, and I was like, nope, can't sit here.
Go back to work, yeah.
So I had a really good friend of mine that I was talking to one day, and he's like, you should come in the HVAC business. I said, then do what? And he goes, well, I don't know. The company I work for is hiring the call center, hiring, CSRs. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. Get to talk on the phone to people. I mean, that's all I ever did was talk to people all the time, right? And it's so funny because people
You could have got a job as that phone sex girl that just answers the phone, you know, gets paid by the minute or whatever. No, you're good on the phone. I don't know why my mind went there. Then you could work at home. She said, no, I didn't want to be. Yes, Roger.
Everybody always tells me you should, like when I got into the HVAC industry, you should go into sales. Well, I watched too many Lifetime movies and too many documentaries. I'm afraid of ended up in somebody's basement.
Right.
That's why I won't do it. But it's the same thing. When I was managing those stores, there was a little clicker on the door that told me how many people were walking through. I had to convert a certain amount of those people when they walked in because the candle smelled good. And now I'm trying to get them to buy the lotion that smells like the candle. Well, no, you can't just buy the lotion. That's only $9. I'm going to need you to go ahead and buy the body spray and the candle and everything else. You have your average sell that you got to hit. It's all the same thing. It's just selling different products, right? But so I get in and the call center, and I was there probably about 2 weeks, and the sales manager said, hey, can I talk to you for a second? And I said, sure. So then from there, I moved into the sales lead coordinator position. And then I became the manager over the sales lead coordinators. And that was at one company here in Dallas. I was there probably 7 years. That's where I met Michael. It's where I met Josh, Roman, all those wonderful people. I left them for what I thought was going to be an amazing opportunity. Turned out to only last a year, which was fine. Shortly after that, I get a message on Facebook from Michael. So what are you doing these days? And I was like, why are you asking? And here I am.
I love that.
Yeah. So I have had very few jobs. Actually, when my daughter was first born, I did work at a daycare. So I could go to work with her, and that's when my mother-in-law opened this store. So I've probably had 5 jobs my 52 years of living.
This has been a lot of fun. A lot of great knowledge. It's interesting to see the growth and the way it's seen from the inside. So let's go back to the day Kimberly walked out of her house. After she's out of high school, she's going to take that first job. Knowing everything you know right now.
Right.
All that wealth of knowledge that you have that's just running around in your brain. What would you go back and tell little Kimberly right now?
Be good to people. And I say that, maybe my brain goes there because I've always been in the customer service industry. Be good to people. When you're good to people, you help people, it comes back on you tenfold. Work your ass off. Stop looking at the clock. I'm a firm believer that if you stop looking at the clock, one day you'll never have to look at your bank account. Period. If you have a goal, if you have a dream, crush it. Just go do it. Nobody can stop you from doing anything. Somebody around you is going to be smarter than you. If somebody gives you advice, don't ever act like, okay, I don't need that. Somebody's giving you advice, at least listen to what it is. You may not use it. You may. Never be too big for your own britches. People are smarter than you. Learn from them. If you see somebody doing something and you're like, man, that's amazing, go ask them how the hell they did. You may not ever touch it again. But if you see something that interests you, go for it. Take classes, learn new things. Never only have one thing under your hat. At the same time, I say don't put all your eggs in one basket. It's like, don't, never be afraid to grow. Never be afraid to grow. I'm just, the one thing I've always said is that, people talk about women in the industry and how'd you get there and how is it working with men? Take the freaking gender off of everything and just go be a badass.
You bet.
Just go be a badass. Be passionate about everything that you do. Because if you do, and you put your heart and soul into it, you will be rewarded at the end.
It works, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. Never be afraid to say no. Try something new. Yeah.
This has been fun.
Yay.
Thank you, Kim.
You're so very welcome.